Now, weight loss jabs have become more common in the last few years, with more and more people using them, including prominent celebrities and influencers. In the United States, about 15 million Americans have used weight loss drugs in the last year, representing about 12% of the population. Well, here in the UK, an estimated 1.5 million people use weight loss drugs, according to the NHS. But more than 9 in 10 people are believed to actually pay privately. Prices vary across the UK, costing generally between £100 and $350 a month. That's around $470 US. However, it's claimed trying to get weight loss injections funded through the National Health Service is a postcode lottery, with poorer people sometimes missing out. Indeed, there are claims that a two-tier system around weight loss jabs is beginning to develop. Well, let's talk to our health correspondent, Nick Triggle, who's here with me in the studio. And Nick, let's start in the US because tell us more about the increasing demand there and the difficulties for people there in terms of paying for what the drug costs in the US.
Yes, I mean, there's huge interest in these drugs, and it's easy to understand why. Research shows that they can help people lose up to a fifth of their body weight. This new generation drugs are called the GLP-1 inhibitors. They work by suppressing your appetite, mimicking a hormone that makes you feel full. And in the US, more than 40% of people are obese, but a lot of the health insurance schemes don't cover these weight loss drugs, so people are having to pay for them out of their pocket. And as you say, they are very expensive, and that means a big part of the population simply can't afford them. So that's why we're hearing this sort of debate about, is it fair? Because the higher rates of obesity are in the more deprived populations, so the people who most benefit from these drugs are the least likely to be able to access them.
Well, tell us more about the situation then here, about the availability on the NHS, first of all.
Yes, well, the NHS does prescribe these drugs. There's two that are of particular interest: Mounjaro, which is called Zepbound in the US, and Wegovy. But the restrictions to access them are quite high. For Wegovy, you need a BMI of over 35 and health conditions. For Mounjaro, they've started at 40, phasing it in and with health conditions. And it means, you mentioned 1.5 million people in the UK are using these drugs, but more than 9 in 10 of those are paying for them. And given the cost, experts in the UK are warning that this could exacerbate health inequalities.
Well, exactly on that point then, the two-tier system that I referenced there in the introduction, tell me more about what you are seeing developing here potentially.
Well, I mean, simply because the cost of these drugs can run to £400 a month, that's not affordable to a big part of the population. And as I mentioned, part of the population that are most likely to be obese. Obesity rates in the more deprived areas are twice as high as they are in the affluent areas. And talking to some of these service providers, people providing these drugs on the NHS and in the private sector, said people are becoming increasingly desperate, going into debt to try to afford them, not being able to afford the full course. So people are saying, well, should we be providing more of this on the NHS? Equally, the other people are saying, well, it would be a huge upfront cost if we were to provide more of these weight loss drugs. The NHS resources are stretched. And also, this is not just a medical issue, it's a social issue. And we've got to think about the food environment, how easy it is to access healthy food, how easy it is to exercise.
So a final thought then, and you touch upon it, is there an obvious solution? You've mapped out the clear problems. Is there any sort of route map through it?
Well, at the moment, no. But talking to some analysts, market analysts, they point out that there's more than 150 weight loss drugs being studied in clinical trials. And it's quite possible in a year or two we'll have more of these drugs on the market, and that would drive down costs. And for the NHS, with the big bargaining power it has, it could then perhaps afford to give these weight loss drugs to many more people. But we'll have to wait and see.
Nick, thanks very much for taking us through all of that. A pointer, because you can read much more about this subject. It is on the BBC News website or BBC News app, where Nick has written an extended, in-depth article. It's got a lot of traction there already on the website, so head there. That's a fascinating article about the problems that are beginning to be seen about the availability of those weight loss drugs. So it is available already there on the BBC website.